And we are now live and recording. So team, once again, we're really excited that you're here. Now, this webinar is being hosted by LinkedIn and Sales for Life, and we're just excited that Juniper Networks has agreed to tell their story. You know, as the social selling movement progresses, as this gets into more of a sales motion in more and more companies, it's exciting when big brands like Juniper decide to share their story. It took a lot of convincing, took a lot of cajoling, but you know, great success. We're all here. We've made the event come to life. So Stan and Anthony, thanks in advance for being here. We're going to jump right now into introductions, and without further ado, let's give our guests of honor, Stan and Anthony, a round of applause. And please go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. My name is Anthony Cerche. I'm a senior manager in worldwide go-to-market operations here at Juniper. Currently living in Los Angeles, originally from Melbourne, Australia, and happy to be here. Thanks, Amar.
Hey, and good morning, good afternoon. My name is Stan Boisset. I am the head of Juniper Commercial Sales and Inside Sales, and based in California, Sunnyvale. Happy to be here. Thanks for taking the time. Hopefully, we'll have something nice to share.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. This is Kevin Gillies. I'm a key account manager for LinkedIn. I'm also based out of Los Angeles. I focus on working with our most strategic customers, just like Juniper, to roll out social selling across the board and to leverage Sales Navigator to the best of their ability.
Great. And last but not least is me. I'm Amar Sheth. I'm VP of Customer Success at Sales for Life. We help our clients like Juniper Networks to really take full advantage of the digital landscape and to use tools like Sales Navigator and others to blend into the sales process. So that's a quick intro on all of us. Now, Kevin and the Juniper guys, I'm going to request we turn off our webcams. Let's kind of maintain a little bit of bandwidth here, and we will kind of go ahead and get started right now. So team, for the rest of you that are on the bridge right now, once again, this is going to be a very executive briefing type webinar. We're going to curtail out of a lot of this in just a quick minute or two before Stan and Anthony go right into the details. So here's the agenda for today. I won't read it out loud, but it's on your screen. And let's just kind of qualify why we're all here. Now, the reason social is taking off, and at least in its understanding and at least in its ability to capture mind share, I think it's because our buyers are changing. Now, some of these stats have been spoken about before. The stat that the CEB has, for instance, that 57% of a B2B buying journey is now done online, etc. You know, I don't know if these stats are true exactly the way they're described. I think it really depends on each customer. But there's two key factors that I look at before I evaluate if social selling is important. And I hope all of you feel it is. But if you don't, think about it in these two ways. Can you live your life without LinkedIn? Like seriously, ask yourself that question. I can't. I don't want to go back to the 10 plus years ago when there was no LinkedIn. I don't want to go back to the days where I didn't have a chance to collaborate. So all of these data points are just squarely pointing us towards the fact that in some way, shape, fashion, and form, our buyers are becoming more digital. So your buyer may not be super advanced yet, and some of them may very well be advanced. But either way, they're becoming digital. Now, typically people look at this and they get scared. They think, well, this means that people are going to start to cut me as a salesperson out of the equation. And you would be sorely mistaken, thankfully. So there's a great study done by Corporate Visions that says approximately 3 out of 4 times, buyers will choose the salesperson that's first to add value and insight. Given the amount of noise that's out there in the digital landscape, it behooves us as sales professionals to really act as curators of that noise and take the key insights to our buyers, our prospects. That's why this works. Now, I want to kick it over to Kevin because he has some quick ideas here as well on this point.
Thanks, Omar. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think when I think about social selling and how LinkedIn approaches social selling, these are the 3 key areas we focus on and basically what we built Sales Navigator around. So from a target understand and engage standpoint, we want you to be as relevant as possible with your customers and have the triggers throughout a buying cycle to know when you can add value to that relationship. I think that the biggest thing, and Amar, I love that you say we don't want a world without LinkedIn. I couldn't agree more, obviously, working for the company for the past 5 years. But where we want to make sure we're adding value is simplifying everything. And in my opinion, that's what Sales Navigator does. Nick, do you want to shoot over to the next slide? I think another thing that we want to call out today, as I've worked with Juniper and Amar and I have started to partner together here as well, is LinkedIn.com is very different than LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator was built specifically for salespeople to let you leverage everyone across your B2B buying marketplace. Whereas your original network is giving you access to your immediate connections, Sales Navigator was a specific separate platform built for you to be successful as a sales individual. And we look at this, and leveraging social selling is completely tied in hand, because true social sellers are closing 51% more of them are hitting their quota every year. They're 3 times more likely to go to club for the companies that do things like that. And across the board, that's where we're seeing overall lifts to your bottom line and more revenue for the company.
It's a great point, Kevin. And I guess we'll kind of dovetail from that right into what Juniper has decided to do before we kick it off with Stan and Anthony. Juniper's solution was really simple. They decided, let's use Sales Navigator. Let's expose all the professional insights, and to borrow Kevin's words, for salespeople through Sales Navigator. And then they decided to use an enablement strategy to really make sure that their salespeople knew how to sell using these platforms. So that being said, I guess that kind of leads us right into the first question, which I'll ask. Stan, I'm going to start with you if that's okay. And then Anthony, perhaps you can come in right after. Tell us about how social became a strategic initiative for you at the company.
Actually, Amar, I think we're going to switch it around.
Sure.
I think I'll handle the how, and I think Stan can handle the why. But just before I do, I just wanted to provide a few data points on Juniper. We're about 9,000 employees worldwide. We have 4 major solution buckets: routing, switching, security, services. And in terms of the sales field, approximately 1,000 reps worldwide across APAC, EMEA, and the Americas. But back to your question, in terms of our journey and the how, we really kicked off our social selling journey in mid-2015. In fact, when I joined the company, we were running a 25-seat, 90-day pilot. We didn't know the ROI, but we had some positive initial qualitative feedback. We weren't sold, but we did believe in the concepts and the methodology. So we took a gamble, and we expanded the footprint to worldwide inside sales in early 2016, which was approximately 85, 90 seats. And as we were gaining momentum and seeing early signs of initial ROI, we did expand the footprint to the US and Canadian commercial teams in 2016. And I think, as you know, Amar, it was in Q3 last year where we decided to really invigorate the social selling practices and concepts, and we partnered with Sales for Life in Q3 last year to really drive adoption and ROI with our inside sales reps. And so I think one other important data point before I hand over to Stan, we conducted an inside sales assessment in Q4 last year, and it was clear that social selling was a priority for us. Not only in terms of the continued investment with Sales Navigator, but also the continued investment with the training component as well. So we've renewed our licenses this year in 2017. We're just short of 200 licenses worldwide. And I think I'm going to hand it over to Stan to talk a little bit more about the strategic intent of the social selling program.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that. So here is what happened. So we started to deploy social selling in 2015, as you mentioned. But we wondered really about the value of it. At the same time, the challenge we had in inside sales is our trajectory was not right. We arrived very late in the customer negotiation. We're not looking for new customers. We couldn't find so many new customers. Yeah, you can buy databases and so on, but it was pretty hard. And we're looking really for a new demand generation kind of process. So one we really realize is if we do not change overall our inside sales behavior, the way we engage with customer will be kind of doomed and be still kind of doing cold calling, which we know doesn't work very well. So we launched a strategic initiative called the Inside Sales Transformation, and in it, two main pillars out of the five really were around, the customers and the surround and demand generation. And social selling became the number one thing we had to turn on and equip our sellers to become early in sales cycle, much more strategic to the conversation, and really educate our customers through the sales process. And that's why after a year, and we'll tell you some of the challenges on that journey, we decided to carry on moving on top of inside sales, going with some of the commercial territories, which is most. Amar?
Yeah, Stan, we kind of lost you at the end, but I think we got 98% of it. So I'm just going to ask a quick follow-up question, and Kevin, maybe I'll solicit your help on this one as well. You decided to use Sales Navigator, you decided to use the enablement piece, but I know you guys just talked about how it happened inside, but what was the core reason? Stan, I want to pick on that point you mentioned about going where your buyers are. I know I'm paraphrasing, but just talk a little more about that, guys. Talk about why it was such a challenge to find your buyers and how social helped enable that.
So yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you look in inside sales organization, in a mature organization like Juniper, today a large proportion of our lead come from our partners. Our partners are a key foundation of our strategy, and they help us a lot. That's for sure. When we get engaged with our partners, sometimes the leads are pretty warm, and we help them closing it. The other lead generation comes from marketing, and marketing is doing great work today in trying to engage socially, digitally, customers. But yet we were not close enough to our customers. And we saw in our customers' behavior going on in every single social media. And of course, LinkedIn is one of them in a lot of countries, and you have other ones in other countries. And we see their digital presence and their personal presence are there. So for us, engaging other than just selling, engaging in more technology conversation into behavior conversation was important. Don't get me wrong, we're not successful everywhere, and we'll explain some of the challenges, but we've really changed, and the top sellers who are really embracing it have really engaged brand new conversation with customers much earlier in the sales cycle, not selling products, but truly engaging them on technological conversations. And that's why we kind of decided to kind of go full speed with this.
Yeah, and I think, Stan, your point is a perfect segue. I'm going to kick it to Kevin right now to kind of continue it, because you mentioned challenges. Kevin, maybe you can kick off with this one.
Completely. Well, and it sounds like, Stan, what I love hearing is, like you said, the people who are really adopting it are getting more value, than people who are staying behind. And a lot of, what we see Sales Navigator really driving value from is that continued growth and continued relationship across customer bases. But turning it over a little bit, so tell us a little bit about not only implementing social selling, but where did resistance really come from across Juniper?
Yeah, sure. So as we explained and as Anthony explained, we really went through two phases. The first one is we equipped our sellers with Sales Navigator and told them, great, we're going to do a great program and we'll do social selling. We've done a homegrown kind of education and explain to them with the best of our knowledge how works Sales Navigator. And at the end of this first phase, the results were very poor. We had the cost is pretty high, the return on investment was not proven, and it was one more thing to do. And it was very hard to justify internally to the execs, to finance, to all the people who have a say on investment, on the value of social selling. It was nothing material. Now, selling this phase one didn't mean that social selling was wrong for us. We learned from it. We tried to understand what we missed in this. And if I may do an analogy that I kind of do quite often, it's like you're giving a Formula One car to somebody who has a driving license. say, hey, now go and win a race. And the reality is, if you do not know how to drive Formula One or any kind of racing car, you will never be able to do any kind of good kind of time on this. So our learning from this was the tool is great, but without the proper empowerment, the proper enablement of the sales force, it was useless for us. So as we launched this second phase, it was really about enablement, sales techniques on how to understand a customer, what they want to hear, what they don't want to hear, how to engage meaningful conversation with them. And it was really the key change for us that happens. And then we'll talk later about, how we kind of then got stickiness in this. But that was really the cornerstone of us going in there. So the second kind of resistance we found is, like every inside sales organization, in a matured organization that I mentioned earlier, we have different kind of range of ages. We have the millennials, and we also have, the Gen X, and we have even some baby boomers. So adoption of new techniques, new tool like this one, may not have the same impact with people. People were closer, to a phone, to an email. It was perhaps harder for them, while all our new generation kind of embrace social. You can almost tell that they are born in social, and they were very easy to engage relationship. That was something that, either changed or resistance for us, for sure. And the last one I want to share is actually something that we completely underestimated. People are very comfortable in sharing Juniper kind of marketing approved content. They're much less comfortable in sharing, a bank has been a victim of a cyber attack, or the data from the shutdown didn't work. People are not comfortable in sharing industry content. So it was kind of hard for us to say, if you want your customers to understand the value that you're going to bring in social, you should not share the Juniper-only content. You really have to share also what the industry is talking about, the trends going on. And that was hard, and we found a lot of resistance from sellers in sharing content. You get more.
It's interesting having resistance from the sales team as well on sharing content within their industry, and that is a very big part of it. It's like you said, nobody just wants to see content from your direct organization. They want to see that you can actually add value within that sales discussion and really understand the problems they're facing. So I completely agree there.
Guys, it's a great conversation so far. In the interest of time, I just want to keep moving forward a little bit. Let's move forward to question 3 here. And question 3 is really a popular one. I think anyone that's dabbling in social selling right now, anyone that's trying it, they're wondering, how do you measure this? And I know there's different answers, and it really depends on your organization and culture. But why don't we start there? Perhaps, Anthony and Stan, you can walk us through your mindset around how you thought it was best to measure the success of the program.
Yeah, and Amar, I'm going to be frank and transparent here. Measurement, especially of ROI with this program, it's tough. But we do have some workarounds and practices that we're rolling out here at Juniper. I like to sort of break it down into 3 buckets. I think you have the performance ROI, which is really your revenue lift per se. And we actually configured a way within our Salesforce backbone to identify those opportunities that were social selling influenced. So we leveraged the likes of the opportunity source. We created a radio button. We made it easy for our reps to identify those opportunities. And this was really, owing to the sort of the disconnect between Sales Navigator and Salesforce. So we needed to, insert that fix, if you will. So that's the performance ROI. And I guess the other bucket that we can talk about is the productivity ROI. So what is the time saved by each rep in practicing social selling techniques and really, utilizing the Sales Navigator tool? So we can actually, we can assign a time frame to that and obviously, work the numbers in terms of an ROI. Say, for instance, a rep saving 30 minutes a day, spending more time selling as opposed to prospecting, that's an improvement for us. And then really it's just the qualitative aspect as well. I think, sitting down with our reps, conducting quarterly roundtables, doing lunch and learns, really understanding the qualitative impact that this program has had on their day-to-day sales motion, that has been invaluable as well. So I think just to summarize, performance, productivity, and qualitative ROI is what we're looking at here at Juniper. In terms of actual KPIs, I mean, obviously we have the LinkedIn standard set that we can extract from the tool. We can look at SSI, we can look at leads saved, accounts saved, searches performed. And then, like I mentioned, we also have on our end sort of the Salesforce extract of those opportunities that are really influenced by social selling. So we like to look at the combination of LinkedIn and Salesforce metrics and really, put that together in a neat monthly dashboard that we distribute worldwide. And I think, when you add a sense of gamification and healthy competition, it really helps to spur the program along. So hopefully that answered your question, Amar.
Brilliantly. Thanks, Anthony. I appreciate that. I want to jump back a little bit. One consistent theme I've heard for the last few minutes that you guys have mentioned, and you have been very transparent, and I think the audience really appreciates this. This hasn't been without challenges. There's been resistance. There's resistance from salespeople. I'm sure there's been resistance from certain pockets of sales leaders. Why don't we transition out into the very last question? And Kevin, I'll let you field this, but I'd love to know a little more about that challenge theme if we can kind of go down on that path.
Completely, Amar. And I think there are always going to be challenges, and the four of us know, even as we plan through 2017 and into 2018, there can continue to be challenges. Now, that doesn't mean we haven't had success. It's clearly grown as well, but we do want to focus on that, as I'm sure the audience wants to know, what are these key challenges? How are we, overcoming them essentially, and what recommendations you guys can share?
Yeah, Kevin, I have a laundry list of lessons learned, and if I was to prioritize them, over the last year and a half, I think to Stan's point earlier, it's the importance of training and enablement. So leveraging the combination of the LinkedIn training, the Sales for Life curriculum. I can't stress the importance of that enough. And I think in alignment with my last question, it was really the weekly, the daily, the monthly measurement of this program, and instilling that healthy competition, I think has really helped us here at Juniper. I think another lesson learned is timing. You need to make sure it's the right time for your organization to launch this program. You don't want to bombard your sales reps with too many tools and initiatives at the one time. I think that was a key lesson for us. And lastly, and I think I'll let Stan weigh in with a couple of lessons as well, but I think the management accountability in this program is key. If you don't have that, I think you're dead in the water. So having the execs bought in, having them participate in the curriculum, and really acting as a driving force with their teams is key. Did you have some others, Stan, that you wanted to add?
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, by no means we can pretend that we are done with the journey and we have the perfect. I think it's for us, and we learn to think the wrong way, and we still have a lot to do. Yeah, two things that I think are really key for us. Number one is mind share, and what I mean by mind share is bringing a new program like this to inside sales professionals, bring a new practice like this, and do it across generation was very hard. Many people would say, well, you know what, my customer, they're not on social selling. My customer don't do this. So that was number one, trying to explain and deliver the value that people can adopt and embrace. That was a very hard one at every level. If you think about, the managers, the directors, the inside sales themselves, that was hard. The second one I think that I can say was very hard was the behavior shift. The behavior shift was a big thing. It's not one more thing you have to do. It's not, you have a sales process from 9 to 5 and you do social selling from 5 to 6. Social selling, the way we envision it, it's completely integrated in our sales process. It's completely part of your daily routine. And it's not something you do once in a while. You really have to go and embrace it and become part of your daily life. That was a big one. And the last one, if I can just add the last one, which is very much linked to Anthony's point earlier, is sales hygiene. And while you may have a lot of guys very active on social, doing a lot of things, if you don't have a proper process with proper KPIs, where they record it, where they tell you what's going on, then you're blind. And when you're blind with no results, you have to have a pretty strong seatbelt to say, I'm going to stay on my trajectory because I know we're on the right trajectory. So sales hygiene was truly a challenge and is still now a challenge. People recording the activity and telling us what's going on social.
This is excellent conversation here. And for the audience here, thank you for sending in your questions. In the interest of time, I want to let everyone know, if you're open to sticking around after, we are too, because we only have 2 minutes left. So we're definitely going to take some questions because they're pouring in for sure. Guys, if it's okay, I'd like to start with the first question. And Stan, this is to you. Actually, Anthony, I'm sorry. This is to your point when you mentioned the point about leadership buy-in. And the question comes from John, and the question basically asks the following: are there any particular tips or strategies you can share to get senior leaders in the organization? And I think they mean sales leaders, Anthony. But do you have any strategies or tips to get leaders bought in? Maybe you can share your story around that.
Yeah, I can weigh in, and Stan can weigh in as well. I think for us, it was an unproven technology and methodology back in mid-2015, and sort of the culture here at Juniper is, let's take some small risks and let's see what the result is. So we started with that 25-seat, 90-day pilot back in 2015. And what really, I think, helped us from an executive buy-in standpoint, when it becomes part of the sales motion for our reps and they can't really live without the tool per se, that's a strong point for us to convey to our reps. I know they want to see numbers and ROI, but at the same time, they need to give us a chance to prove it out. And I think, with the combination of Sales for Life recently, we're starting to see, more promising quantitative ROI. So hopefully we can build momentum behind that. Stan, did you have something you want to add?
Yeah. One more thing I think, which is very important as well, is social selling was not a standalone initiative. It's not something we say, hey, let's do social and buy some licenses. It was really one of the key foundation of our transformation that we launched in 2016. So it was really about, the customer journey, how do we engage with them? And it was not just, we're going to stop calling and stop engaging them through different medium. It's one more way to engage conversation. So when we explain the value add in terms of customer engagement, that was also having a lot of weight in the conversation when we presented our transformation plans.
Phenomenal. I'm going to go to another question here, and folks, I'm not cherry picking these. I'm just taking these in as they come. A question from Janice, and the question is this: once you conducted effective training, what was the timetable for measurable impact?
So, Janice, I think this is a very good question, and in all honesty, that was the hardest piece. So we've done the whole training, we've done the tool training, we've done the overall curriculum training, and then we enter a black hole where we didn't see any results. And the main reason is because people were very happy, and by the way, the training was just amazing. We just liked it. It was a good time, an hour a week. Everybody would spend the time on this, good learnings and so on. But then when the certification was passed, people kind of ticked the box, and a lot of them said, yeah, that's good job. And we struggled at the start to get people to kind of, from knowing to doing. And that was hard. We had this moment of doubt, mid-2016. And what we did, we implemented quite a few things. So we've done one-to-one coaching, as Anthony mentioned. We gamified as well the social selling, in a sense. We started implementing leaderboards and make it visible. And it became truly part of the management daily conversations. But till now, so that had a huge impact. So the reinforcement of it in a period of 2 to 3 months is where we start seeing things. And till now, we have a lot of people where we don't see results. So we're putting the next measure in place. But that was, we had really this black hole for 2 to 3 months where we knew
yeah, and I think there, it's really my analogy is this, if you go every day and you don't really see the results. So after the Sales for Life curriculum in Q3 last year, from Q4 through today, we're really starting to see on our monthly dashboards an increased number of opportunities in our Salesforce pipeline attributable to social selling. So I think we've given people time to digest, and they're now going to the gym every day, and our Salesforce pipeline is growing.
Yeah, great points. Great points. I'm going to take 2 more questions here, folks. And again, there's more. So if you have questions, team, just keep passing them through. A question here from Ken. A bit of a unique question outside the scope, but it's an important one. Stan and Anthony, are there verticals or industries where social doesn't apply? Perhaps healthcare or medical, as an example. What are your thoughts on that? Is this a vertical-led movement, or is this a customer-led movement?
So great point, and it's good to mention. There is some verticals where the buying motion requires people with consultant influencers, and they're probably the one you have to touch. I will talk, for example, in the U.S. market with education, where perhaps the buyers of education from the district may not all be part of a social generation, and therefore social may have less impact. Maybe the influencers of this vertical could be more socially connected. So I don't think we are yet have defined yet the one that can say work well, do not work well. Maybe LinkedIn team, Kevin, has more insight about it. Right now we apply it on all the verticals we go after, and we are yet to see. I don't think we have yet a pure analysis that we work. But we know that some sellers tell us based on the vertical that the customers don't buy or not socially around. Yeah. Maybe Kevin can chime in as well on where they see adoption from a vertical standpoint.
Completely. I completely agree with you there. I think the difference is across all verticals. Some might be more forward-thinking or have just matured already. I'll use like the tech industry, for example, much more heavily involved. But at the same stage, it does come down to the different generations and as those people grow, where they're spending their time. And given that the landscape of just the B2B market in general has become much more social, having a presence and having a social selling focus, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're focused on relationships and using social platforms to elevate those relationships.
Well
so
said.
I think anyone who is taking that mindset and how they're going to help their customers more, how they're going to be a more strategic consultant than just a sales rep, is always going to be more successful than the next person.
I have one point to add to this, and it's a bit of a funny story. So we have a client, and they sell to people who are industrial plant managers. Let's not kid ourselves. The likelihood of a plant manager on a shop floor in Wisconsin being on LinkedIn or Twitter are probably quite low, right? So you know what their salespeople are doing? They're using social platforms like LinkedIn, like Twitter, etc. They're doing deep research. I mean, that's our job as salespeople, right? To do research. They're researching their industries, the influencers in those industries, and get this, they're printing out news clippings, articles, etc., and mailing them to their prospects. And they're landing meetings left, right, and center. So social selling, quote unquote, doesn't just have to be sending a message on LinkedIn to a prospect for the first time. Social selling is about research. It's about using publicly available information out there to enhance the sales process. So again, food for thought. Kenneth, I hope that helps. Team, let's take one last question. And Kevin, I've sent that one to you in your chat box. Can you just get that going on your end?
Yeah. No, so Stan and Anthony, there's a question from the stream. How do you overcome a challenge that InMail, for LinkedIn is just another inbox, and how that can be managed? I'm curious on your thoughts there, and then I can shed some light as well.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, we all have emails, perhaps less busy than a normal mail. I think email is one of the subset we have that you're going to engage. The reality is, if you copy paste off messages on email, your likelihood to get success is perhaps low. And social selling is not about doing a new way of spamming through email, but that's one of the key things we learn as well is social selling is not about I'll send you plenty of emails now or messages through LinkedIn, because yet again our customer will not connect. It's about developing a relationship and building something longer. Then you can use email as a communication medium, but it's not the response to the program.
And just to weigh in there, I mean, I think using the in-mail function was one of the early challenges we had. We saw a ton of activity within Sales Navigator, but not a ton of engagement. And by that I mean reaching out through in-mail and messaging. So in order to sort of remedy that and work with our reps, we provided LinkedIn in-mail templates that they could leverage in reaching out to their customers. We wanted to get them out of their comfort zone of reverting back to Outlook and Eloqua and really leverage the tool. So that was helpful for us.
Very well said. I think the 2 cents that I'll weigh in there too is in-mail is one dollar. I love it. It's the one way to basically reach anyone across the network. But what you usually this is one form of outreach. I'm not telling you to email, I'm not telling you to stop picking up the phone. Sales Navigator is allowing you to find the right people you need, giving you as much insights as we possibly can on those individuals, and then you reach out however you're comfortable. It's still, taking that social approach of being knowledgeable and reaching out for a good reason with insights, like you said, not just sending off tons of in-mails and hoping you get a mediocre response rate.
Yeah, and Kevin, to your point, I want to validate something that both Kevin and Anthony are saying. So Juniper actually has developed templates, the ones that Anthony was mentioning, that are customer-centric. I think that's the best way to say it. And then to Kevin's point, here's the mistake most people make, right? So the question is about how do you get around the flurry of emails that you receive. If you have any level of title that's manager, director, VP, or higher, for a fact that salespeople are going to in-mail the daylights out of you. And the reason most people don't respond, you know why? It's because all they're doing is they're copying and pasting their standard cookie cutter Outlook message into in-mail and then wondering why no one's responding. So just ask your salespeople this question. If something's not working in Outlook or email, why would it work in in-mail? Right? The buyer's technically more.
They need to be.
But and that's just something to wrap your head around. Anthony, sorry I interrupted.
You're spot on, Amar. I mean, in terms of our templates, they're customer centric, they're personal, they're warm, they're not cold. So we really try and strike a chord with the customer there.
Brilliant. And I think this should probably be the logical end to this webinar. I'm sure all of us can just hammer on, but our audience is starting to ask for a wrap up here. So I want to thank everyone that's here, all my panelists here. So Stan and Anthony from Juniper, Kevin from LinkedIn, really appreciate your support. And for the audience, thanks for being here. More than half of you stuck around right till the end, overtime as well. Listen, we're all here to help you. If you have any questions, reach out to us. Reach out to Kevin, Stan, Anthony, or I. We're more than happy to collaborate with you. This is a journey that's going to take a while. Social is still taking some time to bleed into the fabric of sales. We all know that, but we're all here to support each other. So once again, Stan, Anthony, and Kevin, thank you. I appreciate your support and advocacy, and we'll see all of you very soon.
Thanks,
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your time. I appreciate it.